Elizabeth, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Hey, it's Sunday. It's my favorite day of the week.
Sunday fun day.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yep, that's exactly what's up. Hey, so what's a typical Sunday like for you?
Well, since it's football season, I've been following the Seahawks a lot. That's my team because I'm born and raised in the Northwest, so I gotta support my team. My whole family are Seahawks fans, so I kind of like to spend my time, relaxing. Rest day. As a mixed martial artist, we usually have to take rest days, and so that's my day just to chill and relax.
I'm pretty sure you do have to take some rest days because you guys be taking a lot of punishment from day to day.
That's correct. Yes.
So I kind of got to ask you this because it's a whole lot. Even researching you, you still can't find out a lot of stuff about you. I mean, so I'm gonna ask you, like, how did you get started? How did you get started beating people up?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to not take too much time on it. But I got a friend that I grew up with. I grew up in a really small town. It's called Omak, Washington. It's like a population of 5 to 6,000 people or something like that. And I didn't have anything like that growing up here. And so when I got to college, I had a scholarship for soccer just at a community college, and then I went on to play at Eastern Washington University. I ran track there, and I always liked boxing. I was really into boxing in the early and late 90s. I always used to, watch boxing, and we never had it, so I just, always was a fan, but I never knew anything about it. I definitely didn't know about mixed martial arts or jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So it wasn't until I was about 24 that one of my friends brought me to a gym in Omak, and I was like, well, I don't live here anymore, and and I was going through kind of a rough time actually in that time of my life. I wasn't doing too well, and so my friend was like, well, there's a gym in Spokane called Sigjitsu that you could train at. You live over there, you could go train there. So my friend who introduced me to the coach in Omak, his name's Ryan Harvey, and he took me to Sigjitsu, and I've been training and competing ever since then, and that was in 2011, I believe. So that was kind of the overall reason why I started mixed martial arts. So
Okay. Hey.
yeah.
So okay. So now you said you had a lot of stuff going on, or you had, you had a difficult time. So what happened? If you don't mind, like saying so.
No. I think I was 23 when we were talking about starting MMA, and I was really wild when I was in high school and my early 20s. I was always known for I got in fights all the time.
Huh.
That's why I should have started boxing and wrestling and stuff when I was probably in middle school or something, because I used to always get in fights. I was so competitive, and I played all these sports. I was really athletic, but I also had a bad temper, and so that got me in lots of trouble, in my adolescent years, and then into my almost mid-20s, because I needed to have this release of negative energy, and I didn't have it. So I ended up getting in trouble for fighting, and when I turned 21, I was always in the bars. I was always getting in fights, and I ended up going and doing like 6 months in a jail called Geiger out here. It's kind of like, it's not county jail, but it's kind of like that, and it's not prison, but it's just like jail. And I did that. After I did that 6 months, I got out and I went back to Omak, and I was kind of figuring out what I was going to do. And that was kind of the time where my friend, who I grew up with and was friends with for a long time, got me into mixed martial art, introduced me to the person that was involved in mixed martial arts. So I was probably at my lowest point before I started mixed martial arts, for sure.
So like you had somebody in prison say, "Oh, hey, that girl right there know how to fight. Let me go in here and whoop her ass." I mean, whoop. Okay, yeah, I said it. PG-13 channel, but that's fine.
It's okay. Yeah, no, kind of, yeah, in jail. I mean, like, I never got into anything. Luckily, I never had to. But there was always the talkers, and I already had a reputation for fighting and things like that. So I mean, it was there was always altercations, but luckily I never had anything. It was pretty chill the time I was there, so that was good.
Hey, so what did your folks have to say, like, about your behavior and things that was going on?
They were not proud of me doing that, like in an illegal way, but they were okay with. Sorry, my dog's in here. I'm gonna let him out.
That's okay.
They
You
were
can
not
pet your
proud of
dog
me
for
getting
me.
in. What's that?
Oh, you can pet your dog for me and tell him Coach said that's just the way that is.
He's crying around because I'm not letting him out. Okay, bud, you can stay out. But anyways, so like I probably just needed that release of I did a little bit of counseling for anger management when I was in high school, and that didn't really seem to do the trick. So I wish I would have had MMA when I was in high school and stuff, because I think that would, my parents wouldn't have been so worried about me getting in trouble, if I would have
Yeah.
had something more positive to do than getting in like street fights.
Yeah, I probably don't think they want you getting in street fights, but
No, they weren't cool with it.
hey, but I guess it seemed like it was kind of almost like a release. Like with all the stress that you was dealing with and the frustration and the anger, you seem like that'd be the perfect solution for you.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly. I wish it was around. I mean, it was around, but I mean, talking to people now, I was like, because UFC, was still popular, but it wasn't mainstream like it is now. In the '90s. So, I didn't really know about it until I was about 18, I think, where I really started watching it. So, but I'm glad I did because now everything's gotten way better since then. Ever since I started out, there's a lot of positive things that have happened. Even though fighting in itself is stressful, but there's a lot of positive things that happened because of it. So I'm happy and fortunate about that.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of skill set. I mean, because I was one of the few people. When you fought against Pennington, Rocky Pennington. I was one of the people. I made a post-fight video on that. I made it, and I'll send you the link to it. But I was actually I kind of hated the commentating on that fight. I really did because I don't know, those guys are not being very objective. They're not looking at like stuff that people do well. They're just looking at what one person does and what the other person doesn't do. And it was kind of like, I had to turn the volume down when I watched you fight Pennington. Like I had to cut the volume off completely because I just got so sick of the announcement. But I noticed that your right hand is crazy. Like your right hand, when you land it, these girls, they have to kind of take notice of it.
Right. Yeah. And it's something that I'm still developing because, I mean, I got into the UFC when I was probably 3 years into it. I'm 5 years into mixed martial arts now. So, I mean, I went in relatively fast. Like most of the girls have more experience. So I felt like I was excited to be in the UFC, but when I actually signed, I actually wasn't feeling too great about it because I wanted more time to evolve and get better at my skill sets. I was doing really good before the UFC. I was on a 5-fight win streak, I think, or 4-fight win streak, and I was doing really good. And I did, well in my first 2 fights for considering how much time I had. But it was just, it's hard to evolve in the UFC. So it's been rough. My past few fights just because of that, and so I was really disappointed in myself for that fight. I didn't do terrible, but I definitely had a lot of good training and a good camp before that. It was just, I think, being outside of the ring for too long, made me not very comfortable in there, and I think that was my biggest thing. I should have released that right hand, like you said. I have that right hand, and I should have been, throwing that way more in that fight. So, but you live and you learn, and so what not to do in your next fight. So I'm hoping my next fight I can advance my skills.
Yeah, that right hand is kryptonite to those girls. Like you know, and
Mhm.
then I was really I was like impressed like how much the frequency in which you was able to land that right hand. Um,
Uh-huh.
because you did it. It was kind of weird because you tucked your chin in and you were fighting Valerie Letourneau and you tucked your chin under
Mhm.
and you threw like this
Yeah.
massive overhand right and
It's
I
like Dan
mean
Henderson style, kind of.
yeah and you completely wrecked her eye and I know I was like man
Mhm.
that right hand is like that's a weapon like it's crazy but
Yeah.
oh go ahead I'm sorry.
No, no, I was just listening, and I mean, you're right, and having that confidence to throw that more is definitely one of my best, skill sets. Everyone has their favorite thing that they do, and mine's the guillotine and the overhand right, like you said, um, and I've been able to be really successful. I remember my amateur and early pro fights. That's all I did was throw that, and I'd win. So. Um, but yeah, that Valerie Letourneau fight, that was crazy. She just fought the other night and lost a close decision. But um, that one, I only had a week to get ready for that fight, so I felt like garbage that fight.
I actually thought you won that fight but I'm gonna tell you though
Hmm.
is it and I was listening I was reading a lot of your bio and when you fought Valerie Letourneau and you also fight Duty Ava, is it true that
Uh-huh.
these were really they were very okay? I think you said that the Letourneau fight was short notice. Was the Duty Ava fight was that short notice too?
It was about a month's notice, so I mean, it wasn't like a full fight camp, but it wasn't a week. So I was in Florida training at American Top Team actually,
Mm.
just visiting there, and my coach called and they wanted me to fight in China, so it was gonna be in China. So, I mean, it was almost a little bit less than a week. It was probably like 3.5 weeks to get ready or something like that. So, they were kind of back to back, and I wasn't very happy with the way that I just, how it started out. I didn't like that, but you never get it exactly the way that you want. So, but I took that fight because I was training. I didn't stop training, so, you know, um, so
I actually
that's how
thought you.
that went.
I actually thought you won. I actually thought you won the Letourneau fight. I thought you won rounds 1 and 3. I thought she
Yeah,
convincingly. I thought
I
she
did
won
too.
too. And then in the Duty Able fight, I thought you won because I thought you landed more significant strikes. I thought so anyway. And
Yeah, and also in that fight I had better wrestling too. Like, the only thing that she really got me with in that fight was she head narded me once, but I still scrambled and got better position on the ground.
mm,
And then she landed one big right in the first round, and then the rest of
yeah,
it I had it. And so I thought that one wasn't even close. I thought I won that one
yeah,
completely.
yeah,
So
cause when
all 3 rounds I thought I won. I thought I won all 3 rounds, and one of the judges had it scored 30-27, which is like she won all 3 rounds. I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah,
oh
right. And it was just, but Europe and Asia, they're still kind of like developing still. Everything screwy always happens, overseas. But that's why, you don't want it to go to decision, when you're overseas. But what can you do?
yeah, it's only so much you can do. I mean about it. Hey,
Right.
and I was kind of shocked because I was like, yeah, I thought she won this decision, and then when I know in when you fought against Letourneau, I was like, huh, I wonder, so I went back and I watched the video. I watched it again a couple of times, and I'm like, well, what did they give it to her? Because in the last round, it seemed like she was still trying to really get through that eye injury. Like she was favoring that thing hard,
Right.
and
Oh
then
yeah.
in the Duty
The
Ava
thing was,
fight, I mean,
they were telling me that it was broke at first, but I think it ended up not being. It was just really badly bruised. But she went to the hospital and was. I was like, I trained with her actually when I was at ATT. I did wrestling with her, and she was like, "Man, my eye hurt so bad." I was like, "I'm sure it did."
yeah, you land an overhand right like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I thought in your fight with Duty Ava, you took the fight to the ground, and I felt like you
Mhm.
actually controlled. I thought you were at your strongest when you got to the ground because she really there was not much she
Right.
could actually do. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that. Both of those fights, how you look at it. Yeah, I look at it the same way. So, yeah, so it's been kind of rough, But, I just got actually some kind of exciting news, besides